Namaskar, this is Askhilesh Bhargava again. Welcome to Tidbits on Business and Finance with me. The recent figures of foreign investment into India, what is popularly called FDI, foreign direct investment. These recent figures show that FDI into India, the growth of such FDI has fallen to a 5-year low. It grew by only 3% last year to $44.85 billion. As against a growth rate of 8.67% in the earlier year. The FDI into India peaked. The growth rate peaked at 29% in the year 2015-16 and has thereafter fallen. These ups and downs in the growth rate of the FDI since 2016 onwards actually mirror the ups and downs of the Modi euphoria in India. It may be noted that during the UPA regime, in the year 2012-13, FDI into India had actually registered a negative growth. It had gone down by 38% in that year. During the NDA regime, it has grown every year, except that it has now been on a declining trend. The decline in the FDI into India is not really surprising. It is not very welcome, but the decline in the growth rate is not surprising. It is understandable. The reason it is not welcome is India needs tons of money, especially for building up of its infrastructure, which has a huge backlog. As per an estimate of Mr. Piyush Goyal, the backlog of investment in infrastructure in India is to the tune of $1,500 billion, which is a sizable sum. And we do need foreign investment. But it has fallen. And it has fallen for a few reasons. The main reason today, as we see it, is the obstructionist trade policies of Donald Trump. He has been imposing tariffs into import into USA on products imported not just from China, but also from Canada, also from the EU, also from India, and probably all the trading partners of the US. When you start obstructing global trade, when you start obstructing global business, it is not just global business that suffers, but so does the global flow of funds, because business and funds flow go hand in hand. It is these policies of Donald Trump of hindering global trade which have also started hindering the flow of funds, which includes FDI. No country has actually been spared of those frictionful policies of Mr. Donald Trump. In fact, he has been burning his bridges with almost all his allies and trade partners, which was very evident from the last meeting of the G7 in Canada, when he actually accused the Canadian Prime Minister of dishonesty and being weak. It was quite shocking. But with this kind of burning of bridges comes a decline in trade and also comes a decline in investments. And India is also being impacted with that. Another factor which is very US centric, which is impacting the flow of FDI, not just in India, but probably in countries all over the world, is that with interest rates having increased in the US, dollar funds are flowing back into the US, which is finding the US markets more attractive and more safe, thus denying investments to other countries, which includes India. This impact of frictionful US trade policies has been so severe that a bloc like the EU has now decided to scrutinize deeply every investment flowing into the EU countries, not just from the US and China, but every other country. And these will finally impact the flow of funds all over the world, India being no exception. These are the global factors. Let's look at the domestic factors. To us, the primary domestic factor which has been hindering FDI into India is the fact that a lot needs to be done in respect of ease of doing business in India. India is not such an easy territory to do business, and that fact remains undiminished. Ratings by the World Bank is one story, but the ground story tends to be different. The recent protests in Tuticorin, for example, which have led to the closure of the copper plant of Sterlite, is just one such instance. Ground realities of ease of doing business are far different from the rating rankings that India gets. Until that is not improved, the real inflow of funds will suffer. The foreign investment is going to be afraid. There are going to be deterrents to foreign investments coming into India, and that is one area where India has a huge unfinished business. There is no doubt that the Modi regime has been trying to reform India, but the ground realities for ease of doing business have not been reformed, and that is reflecting finally on the FDI inflows too. As we head into an election year, the undelivered promises of the Modi government have also resulted in a wait and watch attitude for the foreign investors. But in the long run, whether it is the Modi government or any other government, what will really reflect on the inflows of FDI into India is going to be the ground reality of the ease of doing business. Ratings are one part of the story, ground realities are another, and that in India still is a long way to go to comfort investors to pour money into India the way India needs and India desires. This is Askhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.